Kanard and this right here is the 10th episode for season 11 for TKW videos. Today's a vital topic about excuses. And there's one quote in particular that my co-host Pops told me. He said, excuses are tools of incompetence, monuments of nothingness. People who use them sell their amount to nothing else or nothing less. And that's very valuable and vital to think about because we got the power. We are capable of achieving greatness. And just because we have failed, just because we've been turned down, just because we have been rejected, it doesn't mean that we're any less of a human being, that we're any less of a fighter. But the crazy thing is that we start blaming things. We start using excuses. I'm tired, there's not enough time, it's too much. And we start building all these reasons of why we can't do it. We start blaming the situation instead of understanding that there's a pattern that's going into creating the product. And we forget about that. Because we love to blame it on ABC, 1, 2, 3, X, Y, and Z. And why is that, folks? Why do we do it? It's the reason is because we're so afraid of taking responsibility to owning up our actions, owning up our failures, owning up our mistakes, and move on. Because it's so much to understand that it was us. It's so much to say that it was me. So we make the excuse to not feel as bad. We make the excuse so that our ego is not destroyed. We make the excuse so that our anxiety doesn't eat us inside. But folks, I'm telling you, it's not our fault that bad things happen to us. It's our fault that we let those bad things get the best of us. See, you are failing in life. You are doing what you gotta do, and you fall down and you wanna blame your teacher. You want to blame the situation, you want to blame your family members, but it doesn't go as right. You know, prime excuse, I understand that life is hard. I understand you gotta put in the work and it doesn't go your way. But I use the excuse where I'm tired, where I was late because of the train. I didn't do my homework because there was just too much noise and I just couldn't focus, right? All these excuses, but they're just cop-outs. No, they're just reasons for me to not own up. They're just reasons for me not to develop. And when you're using an excuse, you're literally hindering your development because you're literally depicting your value, your worth on what did not happen, on what did not come true. But that's not your value. Your value is understanding that you made the mistake and you move on. But we don't want to do that. We want to, again, blame somebody else. But the crazy thing is, folks, and it's been happening all the time, is the fact that we're so consumed with how things are supposed to be. We're so consumed of how every situation is supposed to play out. And if it doesn't play out the way it is, we have to dig in our box of fear, dig in our box of excuses, pull them out, because we're just too afraid. But see, there's things that we can control, and there's things that we can't control. See, we can't control the fact that some of us live in single-parent homes. We can't control the fact that some of us don't have role models. We can't control the fact that some of us are living in the hood. We can't control the fact that some of us are doing homework in unsuitable places. See, those are limits. I understand that. See, there's limits in life. See, there's a dichotomy. There's these two forces, limits versus excuses. Which will win? We understand that some of us don't have money, right? I understand that. We can't control that. But we can control us going to bed on time. We can't control us, stuttering, getting tutored. We can't control laying out our floor plan so that we can complete that 10-page paper in an orderly fashion. We can't control that, right? Because that's the reality. that we want to blame somebody else. See, the thing is, we're lying. We're lying. See, it's one to lie to your family, to lie to your teachers, to lie to your peers, but it's another thing to lie to yourself, folks, because you can't even be honest about the true you, because again, we have been so consumed of how life is supposed to go, how we were supposed to succeed, how we were supposed to triumph, how we were supposed to be glorious, but we didn't. So we start blaming our family members. We start blaming our teachers, but the fact is they can't live our life. They didn't control our actions. There was a pattern that caused that. We blaming the situation when the fact that we are the product of the situation. We are in the making of the situation. And we can change the product by changing the action. And you know how you can do that? You can start waking up. You can start thinking that you don't need to go out and party. You don't need to procrastinate. You don't need to watch movies, go on Netflix, spend your time with your friends when you know you got work to do. When you know you have responsibilities, when you know you have priorities. And we throw that to the side all the time. And once we get that out, once we get what we don't want to do, when we don't put in the work. When we don't put in the work, folks, the product doesn't look as good as we want it to be. Or the product doesn't even exist. And we start wondering what happened. You happened. Your actions happened. Your irresponsibility happened. Nobody else. These are cop-outs. You know, you not going to the gym to lose weight because it's hard is a cop-out. It's a tool of incompetence. You getting an F on your paper because it was too hard is a cop-out. It's a tool of incompetence. You not getting to school on time because the train was delayed because you wanted extra hours of sleep is a cop-out. It's a tool of incompetence. Because things could have happened. Things could have changed. Well, they didn't. And you could wait till the last minute. You can do what you gotta do because it feels good. But then again, excuses are tools of incompetence. Monuments, nothing. People who use them sell their amount to nothing else or nothing less. And I'm pretty sure, folks, I'm pretty sure that we're much more than a cop-out. We're much more than an excuse. We're much more than a reason to be scared, to be afraid. I understand it gets scary to owning up, to have your ego get shattered. I understand that, folks. When we understand that we're much more, and we start acting, when we start changing our pattern, when we start realizing that it's not our fault, that bad thing happened to us, that it doesn't matter what you can't control, it's about what you can control, and you start fixing that, and when you start taking responsibility for that, you're gonna become a different person. You're gonna start succeeding more. You're gonna start building up this right here. But please, stop using excuses. Because they're just a tool of incompetence. And I know you're much more valuable than that. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.